This is actually my first Founders Exchange, and we have Corten from Augmental. I was genuinely really, really excited when Cody put us in touch, and I actually looked at what you guys did. I thought it was actually I thought you did that promotional video, and it was pretty epic. Do you want to give a little bit of a quick intro about why that got me quite so excited?
Yeah, no, happy to, and thank you for just the kind words in liking the video we put out there. But essentially, this was one of only a few video productions we've shared to the world to tell our story, and we're starting to do a little bit more. So hopefully, folks will hear a bit more and more about what we do. But we are Augmental, where we're creating hands-free interfaces for folks that don't have easy use of their extremities, their hands and limbs, particularly to gain more equitable and just universal access to the digital world, particularly in this day and age. The internet and digital world has become such a huge part of our lives. And as technology has advanced, we don't really have any more excuses to prevent groups of folks from, having that access and being able to participate. And so by creating an assistive technology that makes use of, alternative inputs compared to the traditional hand-based computer mouse input, we hope to make the world a little bit of a better place for all. My co-founder and I, we've worked in the space of assistive technology for over a decade, since the college days. And we were at UC Berkeley where we met, which has a really rich history of disability rights activism. And there are a lot of resources there for folks living with, unique abilities and different levels of ability. And so that inspired us to create more alternative inputs that could consider everyone and everybody's level of ability. And so essentially, to kind of put it specifically, I actually have a device here. This is one of my MouthPad devices, but our first product at Augmental is a MouthPad, a play on words of mouse pad in the mouth. And essentially, it transforms the laptop trackpad that we have all become familiar with into a form factor that rests on the roof of the mouth. So instead of using your tongue, or rather, instead of using your finger to, navigate your trackpad, you use your tongue on the trackpad that rests on the roof of your mouth to move around the cursor of your computer. And similarly, just like you would press to click on your trackpad of your laptop, you also apply a bit of pressure instead of just contact to engage a click, for example. It's got a Bluetooth chip. It's fully wireless. It's essentially, you can think almost like a Best Buy off-the-shelf computer mouse that is just redesigned to be a little bit more universally accessible inside the mouth, but should be able to do everything that your mouse can do and even more. We're trying to really expand what it means to be a mouse in this day and age.
When you guys came up with the idea to use the tongue, why the tongue? How does it compare to other eyes? You must have considered a lot of other aspects, but is the tongue part of the human body that is very trainable?
When we had my co-founder and I, Tomas, when we had worked together in this space, we've explored really all the alternative inputs that are out there over the years. Whether that's EEG with electrodes on the scalp trying to detect brain activity. I did my master's in eye tracking, so doing EOG as well. My partner also went to school to do a jaw-based gestural interaction at MIT for his master's, and so you leveraging the movements of the jaw and all of these explorations, EMG with muscle detection as well, led us to near where my co-founder was doing his research on the jaw, but kind of pushed us and inched us closer to the mouth, which has the tongue. And you ask why the tongue? Well, we really see it as the 11th finger, if you will. It's extremely capable and dexterous just inherently without much, extra effort. For example, as we're speaking now, having this conversation, my tongue is doing some pretty rapid and precise movements to enunciate exactly what I want without much thought. And so it's kind of ready to go. And we also, my co-founder and I studied the brain. We did computer science, but also cognitive science. And so we learned how our nervous system really works. And from that, we gathered that the sensory motor cortex has a disproportionately large number of neurons dedicated to the tongue specifically. You only see it comparable to the hands, which are, again, these really specific and precise tools that need a lot of brain energy, but so too does the tongue.
So people come to you, they create a custom mold, right? I'm assuming so that it fits their exact teeth and it fits their particular mouth, and then they're basically good to go.
We've iterated a bit. You're right. We started doing impressions. We could, you could send a kit out to somebody, they bite on it, or we could go to them in person, help them bite onto the impression that captures their dental model. But that has a bit of user error. Any of the dentists out there listening and understand that that process is messy, problematic, can trigger gag reflex. It's just, a lot of user error involved. And so now we've transitioned to expanding our dental network nationwide. We have over 1,000 people on our wait list, many of whom are scattered about the United States in various different states and counties. And we have now started to reach out, make partnerships with various dental offices and labs that are equipped with 3D intraoral digital scanning tools. You can think of this like the Panda scanner, iTero, or Trios, but these are digital tools that, act sort of like a wand with a camera at the end, and you do a very quick pass of the upper jaw and the palate, and that has the digital model kind of gold standard made for you right then and there without us having to actually then scan the impression after the fact. And once we have that, we have sort of an automated proprietary design pipeline that the files pass through, get the MouthPad aspects added on, and then, yeah, at that point, we just ship it out and do a training session. We sit down with our customers for, an hour plus session to train them, but it takes about 10 minutes or less, really, before they're actually controlling their computer or their smartphone with their tongue and their MouthPad device. It's not really that tricky. You can just get better and better at it as you practice more and more. One thing that I didn't really mention as part of our collaboration with dentists so far is trying to develop processes that ensure the MouthPad doesn't adversely affect really our users' mouths. This part of this reason is we are part of this sort of energy is we only sell to customers that are 18 years or older to allow for the maxillary sort of dentition to mature and develop to its final state. But we also want to make sure, for instance, that we maintain a uniform thickness across the entire occlusal plane, so as not to disrupt or make an unbalanced bite, if you will. But these are things that are early tidbits, and similar to what sensors and what information from the mouth would be interesting, as you've mentioned, the community would probably have some opinions about. We'd also be curious to understand opinions about, this occlusal plane influence, or even the development, how sure we are that this type of device could, prevent the growth and natural development of someone's teeth. We're going on the safe side and trying to just avoid it, but putting out all of the sort of considerations we have in mind when it comes to not just the interaction side, but what does it mean for the mouth and the dentition.
What's usually the route to coming across you?
Usually the process goes where somehow online in the internet world or social media where we post our videos, people catch wind of what we're doing at Augmental. They join our wait list or reach out via email, after which point we're in contact and we can understand their situation, their context, where they live, and we can look at really our growing map of dental offices to see if there's anyone just nearby. If there is somebody nearby, or if their personal dentist is willing to work with us, which I see as even a bigger win, then we'll begin the coordination phase with the customer and setting up an appointment. We want to really be mindful of the fact that this customer base we're working with has difficulties with transportation. It's not as easy as the typically abled person just hopping in a car and getting to an office. The office needs to be accessible. Our customers need to have some means of transportation. This is also why we want to work with personal dentists or family dentists when we can, because there's usually already all of those accessibility concerns out of the way. However, generally we're doing cold calls to dentists to set up that coordination. Say we have a new customer in an area that's out of our reach. We then begin calling dentists in that county or city to just see if they're willing and interested. It's not all the time that people want to engage with a new random startup company putting things in people's mouths. But for
No, don't
those,
worry,
yeah,
we've been there. We've
but for
been there.
those who really understand, that this can change lives, it can really perform a 180 on somebody's level of freedom, then I almost feel that we get a bunch of dentists who are actually eager, very excited to know that they can make a positive impact in the lives of their community members beyond just improving their dental health, but giving them independence. And we see that as a win-win. We pay also our partners. This isn't some free feel-good partnership. We want to do business. So if anyone out there is interested, please feel free to contact me. We can share details at the end. I'm always interested in expanding our dental partnerships nationwide. So little ask there. But
I'm sure there'll be people that see this in our community and want to reach out. We're just going to help facilitate as well. Right now, like somebody comes in, they get it fitted. How can it change their life right now?
yeah, thank you for asking. Right now, the access it provides is simply just connection in a portable and convenient manner to your smartphone, your tablet, your computer, any of your digital devices that accepts a Bluetooth device. This is advertised and broadcasted to the
So
digital
you could make
world.
a phone call.
Yeah,
Like you'd be on it, you'd be clicking your phone like you would be using with your hand, but you're doing it with your tongue.
exactly. So that can be phone call, looking up Google Maps to somewhere you want to go for lunch, searching the internet, taking classes. Our first customer is enabled to be able to study in the library at college. This is something that previously she was depending on a voice-based system, which is great, but there's shortcomings to that, which is in public. If you want to use your speech-based interface, you have to be pretty loud. It's not private, and it disrupts all the other students studying around you. So you don't really feel welcome or appropriate in a quiet learning space. And so the MouthPad allows for a more private and silent learning experience for this student. We've also found users wanting to connect to toys or little robots to play with their children. We found people getting back to work, having the ability to log more hours consecutively at the computer because this is a more ergonomic and accessible tool than some of the standard tools out there, which are no joke, just a stick in your mouth that you have to bite onto and poke, a keyboard with, which can get extremely tiring and it can actually mess up people's teeth. We have found that some of our users have their front teeth missing as a result of clamping onto these mouth sticks for their sort of poking interaction. And so, what I think is probably the hugest win is for many of our customers who are in bed for many hours of the day and otherwise stranded from their devices. This portable wearable interface in the MouthPad allows you to actually be in bed and still connect to your computer or your phone or tablet instead of just having to wait until you're done sleeping and you're placed back in your chair or your desktop setup. And so that is a huge one, as well as just connecting to a smartphone, which oftentimes assistive tech isn't so great at doing.
So right now you print it, right? And then you place a trackpad underneath. And I'm assuming the trackpad is incredibly sensitive.
Yeah, it's fairly sensitive, but it is you can think of it like your smartphones with the touch screens that we have today. Placed in this sort of in this context, it's a little bit different, and it's a little weird to play with the saliva that comes with the tongue as well, and how that messes up your touch. You can think of like using your phone in the rain. When it starts to get wet, it starts to spaz out a little bit because the just touch sensitivity is distorted. So that's been a little bit of a challenge, but really the tongue uh, acts very similarly to a finger in that sense of touch sensing. So it's nothing too wild, actually.
How do you keep people's teeth in great condition? Because obviously there is a chance that you can cause damage to their teeth. Not necessarily you guys, or their teeth are already damaged.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we could look to assist you with on that front?
Yeah, it's something that I think will become a little bit clear as we go. We're not, we're still so early. We've had about 50 customers so far, so staying in the small volume so far. But as we go, we're also continually trying to talk to more and more dentists just to learn more and more about oral hygiene because we are coming at it from an interaction and engineering, tech nerd background rather than the full blown dental background. We've just partnered with some investors who are in the dental sort of community, and they're specifically going to be helping us also have more of a sort of dental advisory, even if it's just one dental expert to help us make these decisions and move forward in a smart and conservative way. But yeah, for now, we generally have a policy where being a MouthPad candidate or customer requires that you have at least some good oral health and no ongoing orthodontic sort of treatments. And this is largely because, as you mentioned, we recognize that if a mouth has hygiene issues that are already negatively affecting your oral health, our concern is that adding more surfaces in contact with the issue or the problem space or cavities might actually exacerbate that issue. And so we just want to be careful and not make problems worse. So that's why we're also here to want to learn more from dentists.
I'm sure there are people going to be watching this one saying, "Oh my gosh, you should add this, you should add that." Which again, when we put this one out there, we will take all those comments. If someone wants to message me privately or message you guys directly, we will make sure we can facilitate that one. You've obviously got at the moment trackpad, right? And what you're able to achieve on this one. Can you just, I mean, high level, because there will be some people here, in particular myself, where do you hope you can take the device in the future in terms of what else can you measure in somebody's mouth? From, obviously the act of moving your mouth, air, when it comes to the use of the tongue. Like in the long run, where would be like an ideal place that you could utilize the mouth to control?
The part of this effort to create the mouth pad, which is worn in the mouth, is to avoid the extreme of actually getting a surgical intervention, something that's really invasive, which we see and also are very big fans of when it comes to brain computer interface implants. But we want a solution that's available today. So this is something that is getting as close as we see this trend working towards, without having to have all those commitments and timelines that are kind of scary when it comes to the furthest extreme. But with that said, this is because we see this trend becoming not just closer for no reason, but I think because it's more human. It's more human first. It's similar to the behaviors we have. Instead of sitting down and hunching down over the computer at the computer room, we can be on the go, computing, gathering information, and accessing the internet when we're still doing more human behaviors. And so, in mind of this human focused design element, we also see that interfaces are pretty opinionated. Like a computer mouse, it it is defined to be used by the hand and to be moved around and clicked, and that is kind of what it does. But we have an interesting opportunity where we've reinvented the computer mouse form factor. But now, how can we also reinvent what it means to actually use a mouse, what it means to be the interface to computer instead of just the computer mouse way? And so we're starting off with, first and foremost, tongue control. This is one of the most universal access methods, but we want to make this device multimodal, make it capable to really be human first and meet us where we are at the level of input that we find most desirable or suitable for the given context. So to that end, we've also unraveled head tracking. So you can use your head as an input to the computer as well. So instead of just the tongue
Almost like
moving
a
the cursor,
gyroscope within
e-
the device, which
exactly.
moves with. Yeah.
Exactly. So you use that motion to move the cursor around, and this is for those of our users who have a low enough injury on the neck where they have retained some head motion, or maybe they don't have a spinal cord injury at all and they just have retained that head motion. So again, this is providing another method. But coming next is not just reinventing the mouse, but how can we make this interface also incorporate a reinvention of the keyboard? And so this is taking advantage of the fact that the mouth is the source of how we engage with vocal speech and communication. And so we want to create a device that not only leverages speech communication and does it better because we're right to the source of that produced vocal speech, so we can gather that signal with more confidence, but we want to flip the script a little bit. Just like I mentioned earlier, some of our students who are customers have doubts working in a public library space because they might be disruptive and non-private with their speech. We want to create a silent speech interface. So given that we're in the mouth and we can track the movements of the mouth, the pressure of the tongue, temperature, the head motion, and all that, we can start to create a model of our own that can be used to essentially remove audio from the equation and just do sort of lip reading, if you will, electronic lip reading, where you'd be mouthing
Yeah,
what you want to say.
I'm glad you beat me to it. I was very tempted to start practicing. I mean, like, what if you were to actually make a noise? What would the actions of the mouth be, and then what could be measured? But that's like, so what you're saying is you can get to a point. You do believe that with the right measurements within your device, you could fully read and without noise. I
That's
read
that's
as what someone's trying to communicate.
That's our goal. We're starting on the prototype already. We've got some of the hardware, and this has implications. For our first segment, folks sometimes have tracheotomies or lung function issues, and they actually can't vocalize, but they can still mouth, and that gives them literally a new voice. In a way, it's a silent version, but not just for our disabled customers, but also our typically abled and general use customers as well. Speech is really important. It is how we're talking now. It is how most people communicate, and we want to make that work when it comes to actually communicating with our technology and our devices. And I think a big way to do that is to make it more private, to make it more convenient and less disruptive, and again, more human, less just
Also,
talking to
the
these.
speed that you can then communicate, I was just thinking, even when you log in, you forget to log into your Netflix, your serious problems you've got, and you're on a device, and you're trying to go one letter to the next. I'm assuming the way you're saying it's basically like speaking to Hey Siri, but you're doing this quietly in your mouth, and you could type
Essentially,
out words, you could speak, you could communicate, you could make your devices function, particularly with the advent of AI. By doing this one, you could do it silently.
yeah,
Should
that's
be like an extraordinary move forward.
That's right, and it just makes sense too, as we've seen a lot of LLM development, these chatbots and AI programs getting just smarter and better at taking in our text input, and we see really a bottleneck being typing to these bots, to these chatbots, when
Yeah.
really
Okay.
you might as well just communicate naturally as you would. And so this is yeah, part of our thinking. There's a lot of we're at an inflection point with the technology form factor meeting us there on the hardware, but also that, software side with the LLMs becoming more robust and useful. And so we think that if we do this right, we can really tap into a good moment in time to make this device really useful for the world.
I can't see actually there being a better time to be able to infuse everything that's like moving ahead from an AI point of view with what you guys have just created. So like I can't wait to see where you go.
Thank
I
you.
got to ask now that you've been working, with a lot more oral care providers, with a lot more professionals. Has it changed your oral care routine? Obviously, it's about to become fully burst.
This is an interesting question. How does it change my oral care? I think just first and foremost by being sort of in the mouth, and yeah, having that be more of just an influence in my life. I'm just thinking about this device, thinking about the palate, the roof of the mouth. I've never thought about the palate this much in my life, and just having more, I don't know, mental energy in this part of my body. I've just come to, I don't know, realize how different our mouths can really be. I've looked at a lot of different dental models. I've looked at my own dental model, and it just makes me a little bit more aware of where I can put more attention, where I can floss a little better, because I actually know exactly where the gap in my tooth is a little bit bigger because I'm actually seeing it, and which is not super common for the layman to be so having this, really deep dental perspective. But it makes me think from the layman side, it's not just a trick that dentists are saying, but it really benefits to have bi-yearly checkups with the dentist. You can see the impact it makes, and so if anything, more confidence in dental practices being actually truly helpful. And also, I'm much more aware of just my own personal hygiene. I show this device off. I wear it. I open my mouth
Yeah, I
and
mean, you just put it up to a couple thousand people at minimum, so people can see the care you've taken there, which obviously you need to be you need to be keeping things tidy. I think that's no, it is really interesting. Just even I know that when I last went to dentist, I like to mix it up. I think the burst ambassadors know that when I'll go to offices that work with the burst and just kind of make a random guest appearance. But I have noticed, since I was younger, dental professionals are far more. They spend a lot more time trying to educate you because, to your point, once you understood it, once you knew where there was a slight difference gap, as
Mhm.
you say, everyone's mouth's different, put more attention towards it. And I've definitely noticed that education coming through every time I go to a dental practice, or to be honest with you, communicate with a lot of members of staff or speak with any of our ambassadors. They're quick to put a finger and have a look in my mouth. So you become aware of it. But obviously, everyone on this call is thrilled that now you've moved to the burst side.
Yeah, the white. I've been using the
And
whitening strips, which is
are
great.
you, quality, quality product. No, I love it. I got to say, I'm going to conclude with just a man. Thank you, and I honestly, I think you guys are doing like extraordinary work. I'm fascinated, like on the digital, the tech side, but also just like what you're able to achieve. Your video originally that I watched when I was getting to know your company was really quite moving, and obviously this is just the beginning. You've tried it with 50 people. I know that you've got a large waiting list of people that are very excited to get hold of the product. Been there. You're a young company. I really believe I can see you guys growing very, very fast. And obviously now you're funded, and you've got this next group that you want to work with. I would love to know if I know the community is going to ask. We have a few sort of bits of homework. I know that there are going to be people that are watching this that want to go and assist when it comes to like how do we care for the product itself? How can we care for people's teeth while they use it, or people that want to connect on an office front? But like is there a way that our community can keep up to date? I know that we're going to want to have you guys back the next time you actually make or the next step, or when you've got another 1,000 people involved. I actually just really want to know about it, and I know the community will. Is there somewhere they can keep up to date?
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I'd love to share, our website is www.augmental.tech, as in technology. So that's www.augmental.tech. So Augmental Tech, you can see our video that you've mentioned there on our home landing page. You can go to our contact us tab and sign up for email updates. You could sign up for the wait list if you're interested in getting a device yourself. But you can also find us on social media. We have Instagram, Twitter, or X nowadays, LinkedIn as well. And just look for that Augmental or Augmental Tech name, and we should be there.
I just want to say, everyone else that's popped in, thank you. I've genuinely loved this, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed it as much. You guys are doing a really cool thing. Like, I absolutely love it. And I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing what you guys do next. But again, thank you from us, from me, and thank you from our community. Hopefully we chat again quite soon. But
Yeah, thank
appreciate
you
it.
so much. Thank you so much, Hamish, and yeah, to the Burst community in general. It's really a pleasure and a privilege to be able to share our story, to get the word out there, and to really be able to have a chance to talk to dental-oriented experts in the field. This is, coming at a great time when we can use all the help that we can get. It takes a village. We got an awesome team making this work, but it really takes everyone's help and love and care. So you guys are doing a big effort there. I can't thank you guys enough. I appreciate it.
No, thank you, my friend.